Hello, guys. Oh my gosh. Hot topic. What do you do when someone violates your boundaries? No, they didn't. What were they thinking violating your boundary? Don't they know who you are? Clearly not. So, we're going to talk about that. If you're new here, my name is Arica Angelo. Been given dating and relationship advice for 14 years now. So, here's the thing, when I've been as a coach working with people for 14 years, one of the things that I see myself doing with my clients is coming back to this topic around boundaries. Like, really, boundaries is the one thing that keeps us grounded to ourselves, connected to ourselves, but also helps create this flow for a relationship to work. So when someone violates your boundaries, it's almost like, if you can imagine a pipe system, it's almost like when someone violates your boundary, they're blocking the flow, because boundaries is what keeps things like safe. It's like, hey, this is what I need. This is a no-go for me. This is how I expect you to treat me. This is how you can expect me to treat you. And this is like how we keep love flowing between us. This is how we keep the connection going, is through our boundaries. But when someone decides to just go, I'm going to violate your boundaries, it's like it puts a block in the flow. And I don't know about you guys, but like, let's say you've been in a loving relationship or even friendship or with your families, and like things are just going good. You're loving each other. Life is great. And then all of a sudden they just do that thing. And you're like, what just happened here? What were they thinking violating this? Like, and it becomes really confusing. You can sometimes in these situations, you can take the violation and you can really make it about everything. Be like, they don't respect me, they don't respect the relationship. So I want you guys to stay to the very end of this, because we're going to talk about exactly what you do when someone violates your boundary. But we need to understand why, because if I don't explain why, when we get to the what to do, it's not going to make sense. So you really need to pay attention as to why people violate our boundaries, and then what we need to do about it. So this is the journey that we're going on. So here's the thing. When you're in a situation where someone is typically loving to you, and then all of a sudden they break your boundary, it's very easy to want to villainize the person. It's very easy to put that person in a box and say, they're a betrayer, they've been lying to me, they've been malicious this whole time. Like, it's very easy to go down that path where you just completely villainize the person. But we need to understand like what is going on with the person first, right? So that we know how to handle the situation, because it's not a one size fits all when people violate our boundaries. So here's the thing. Let's get really clear. Why do people violate our boundaries? One, they're feeling triggered. They're feeling triggered. They get out of their body. They don't even know what they're saying or doing to you. They're reacting and they're responding from a 5-year-old response or a 10-year-old response of when they were traumatized as a child. Something happened with their parents, their voice was taken away, they didn't feel safe in the world, something happened, and they learned the lesson that they were all alone and that they have to protect themselves. And so when they lash out at you, or they break or they violate your boundary, you're looking at an adult who is breaking your boundary. But really what they are is they're back in that 10-year-old, that 5-year-old body, feeling super triggered, and they are reacting, not responding. Let's get clear on that. They're not responding. They're reacting from that state. And so when they're reacting from that state, it's easy for us because all we feel is the violation. It's like, I've just been violated. So like, that's all I can see. But in their mind, what's going on with them is they didn't violate you. In fact, sometimes they're not even present to what they did. It was just they're reacting from that state, from that trauma state. but you don't know that. And sometimes when someone's reacting from that place, they don't know that. And so sometimes we have to, because here's the thing, there will come a time when you will do the exact same thing. And the reason why it's so important for us to talk about the why is because if we choose to extend grace with boundaries, we're going to talk about that. How do we give out grace with boundaries? But when we do that, we're sure as hell going to want someone to give us grace. We sure as hell is going to want, we're going to want someone to be patient and loving and kind with us. So we're going to talk about how to do that, but to keep your boundaries in place. So that's one scenario. When someone violates, what's the why? Sometimes it's just a place from trauma. Second thing is, here's a reality. There are some people who just choose to show up in this world maliciously. And so for those type of people, we're going to handle them very differently. We're going to have a very different journey. We're always going to give people grace, but this is going to be a very different journey. And so how do you understand whether they're doing it from a place of maliciousness or when they're doing it out of a reactive state from their own trauma or their own triggers, whatever's going on? Or here's the third scenario. We're talking about the why. Why do people do this? If we want to fix it, we have to understand where this is coming from so that we know how to address it. So one, the trauma triggers from their past where they're just reacting. And so they, boom, just violate your boundaries. Two, it's some people are just malicious. And with these type of people, we are going to handle them differently. When they violate our boundaries, it is a different matter. We're going to handle that. We're going to talk about how you decide between the two. And the third thing is just flat out ignorance. Some people just do things very ignorantly because they don't have the right life skills. Maybe they're not used to being in relationship. They're not used to having people in their life that have taught them like, hey, there's this whole thing called boundaries, and you're gonna get more love the more you honor those boundaries. The more you honor my boundaries, the more you honor your own boundaries, there's better love here. And so some people are just ignorant or maybe a bit, immature. They've not been in a lot of relationships. And so they just do things very ignorantly. And in those situations, ignorance is not bliss because you feel violated. And the last thing that you are going to feel when someone has violated your boundaries, I don't think you're going to use the word blissful. I don't think you're going to say that at all. So that's the thing that we have to go into this. When someone violates our boundaries, I think it's very easy for us. It's very easy for all of us to go on to the defensive mode and just they are just trying to hurt me. They are just trying to break me. They are just, here's an interesting one. They are just trying to take advantage of me. And sometimes that is not always the case. Like, here's the thing. This world is not filled with only malicious people, with only narcissists, with only people who are out to get us. That's not what this world is comprised of. So we can't take scenarios of 1, 2, or 3 people who have done this and make it about everybody else. But when we've been violated, sometimes it's very easy to go back and for us to get into a reactive state. So when someone violates our boundaries, like the challenge is to be in the ultimate ninja mastery move is to be in a state of responsiveness as opposed to reaction. How do you do that? Breathing, calming yourself down, regulating yourself. Where am I? What's going on? Stepping back and going, hey, I can't address this right now. I need a pause. I need a break. I need to go process this in another room, or I need to sit on this for a couple of days. But it's putting the pause, putting the brakes on it, and not reacting in the moment when you feel really violated. And that's some real mastery of self. And I think that is like, if we want harmonious relationships, that's a thing that we really have to navigate through, is mastering ourselves. I'm just curious if this is resonating with you guys. Also, if you ever need help with this sort of thing, go to my website. You can get coaching with me right there. I've also got a free offer on there, but connection meditation that you can grab there for free. Let me hear what you guys have to say about this topic. I'm curious, like, what do you guys do when someone violates your boundaries in a relationship? Hey, Ninja, glad you're here. Barry, I'm so glad you're here, darling. Thank you for being here. Robert says, hello from a little town in the corner of Southeast Iowa. Very cool. I'm so grateful to have you here, Robert. Hey, Thomas, how are you, darling? Boss Big Mike, so glad you're here. Ninja Wolf says, it's best if you stay as best friends because you're not worthy to be ready for a relationship. It's not easy. I don't know if I agree with that, Ninja Wolf. Hey, Yo Williams. Tyron Beard, good day from Aus peoples. Oh, Australia. Very cool. It's so funny. Just before I got onto this, I looked on my Instagram and saw one of my dear, dear girlfriends who's in Australia, and she posted some beautiful pictures of the beaches there. Ninja Wolf says, Erica, you sure are being extra spicy today. Thank you. Penguin, what sign will show us where their attack? Oh, thank you for bringing me back to that, Penguin. See, this is why I need you guys in these chats. He says, what sign will show us where their attack on boundaries is coming from? Okay, that's a great question. So, I said, I gave you the 3 examples. Sometimes it's out of their own trauma and their own triggers. Sometimes people are just malicious, and so we're going to handle those people a lot differently. And then the other one is just flat out ignorance. So how can you tell the difference? I would say that the first and the last, I don't want to, that's not flipping you off. The first and the last, the way that you can tell where it's coming from is through your history with them. And you can watch in their history of how, pay attention. You can figure out where they're coming from when you watch how they interact with the people in their life when there is conflict. You can't really see what a person is about when everything is great, but you can understand how they handle things, how they will handle boundaries when there is conflict. So, if you have a history of this person loving you and supporting you and having your back, then you know that it probably came from a place of reaction or out of ignorance, but that this person is not being malicious to you. And so you got to handle things differently. And we're going to talk about how to handle that. You can tell when it's malicious because they have a history of deceiving you. They have a history of not taking accountability of when they've hurt you. You've watched them hurt other people and have no remorse for it. But sometimes you can't analyze that because you're hit so hard by the violation. And that's why I go back to saying that mastery of self is so important. Because when you master yourself, then you give yourself that window of opportunity that goes, okay, whoa, before I just pop off, before I shut down, before I, like Penguin saying, he gets quiet and he becomes passive, before I freeze, before I do any of this stuff, I just need to sit back with myself. And I need to go, is this person, have they been loving towards me? Have they been supportive to me? Have they been truthful with me? Have they had my back? Okay. Chances are then this isn't coming from a malicious place. Chances are this person is reacting from trauma or something from the past that they are not even cognizant of. Or the third thing is that they're just being super ignorant. And so that's a different scenario. But if they have a history of lying to you, betraying to you, mishandling other people, then okay, this person's just being malicious. They're just being a dick. And so we got to handle this a little bit differently. And I just want to say really quickly, like those of you who filled out the applications, this is why I encourage you guys to come to my lives and to be a part of my email list, which you can join it by getting that connection meditation. I did some interviews and gave everyone like 30-minute sessions just to hear where they are. And also I'm putting together a course behind the scenes for boundaries, around boundaries. This is everyone for 14 years has been asking me for this, and I'm finally going to do that. And so the people who are part of that, they're going to be getting an email from me tonight. I'm going to take them through a live version of my course, and they're going to get a discount. What do you think that was? A Lamborghini or Ferrari? It's quite loud. They're going to get a massive discount. So they're going to be getting a live view of this course and also coaching from me, and at a super discounted rate. Whereas the rest of you guys who were not a part of this, when the course comes out, you will get it not live and it will be at a higher price. So this is a benefit of being a part of my community, being a part of my lives, being a part of my email list, is you get these special offers that can change your lives. And I know that some of you guys that I've worked with have already said that your lives have been changed just in those 30 minutes. Thomas says, so glad for this video. Yeah, Thomas was one of the people that we talked about. And Thomas, I was so grateful for your feedback about, like, no one's really covering this topic in a way that I need to hear it. Tristan says, self-talk is important with boundaries. I give a pep talk to myself. I love this. If I have to confront something, dating or not dating, Tristan, I absolutely love that. I just did a video today about boundaries, and this is a great part of that. Is like, we don't realize how much of boundaries with ourselves comes back to having those conversations with ourselves. And we don't realize that, like, how much we violate ourselves. We violate our own boundaries with ourselves by not being loving in the way that we talk to ourselves. And so sometimes when we have to confront something like someone violating our boundaries in a relationship, the first person when this happens that we have to have a conversation with is ourselves. One, to ask ourselves with that question, but also to support ourselves and be like, hey, Tristan, I'm really sorry this happened. Hey, Arica, I'm really sorry. Like, this really sucks right now. I know you feel pissed. I know you feel hurt. I know you feel confused. Wow, I'm here for you. Like, talking ourselves through this, supporting ourselves, nurturing ourselves, giving to ourselves what our parents didn't give to us or what we didn't get in our relationships. Like, this is super important. Hey, Anthony, glad that you're here. I love that. Thomas is like, I don't think boundaries are taught enough in any relationship. Boundaries is a word never taught or spoken about. I agree. Like, we don't really get taught this when we're growing up either. Like, no one says boundaries. It's just like, you need to do this, you need to do that. But you're like, what about my rights? And what about what I want? It's so true. I think that Anthony is saying that his coworkers, like, that have big boundary problems. And this is the beauty of this work and why I'm so excited to, like, eventually release this boundary course, is because when we understand boundaries, this is what I love about working with my clients with boundaries, is this. When I work with them and they come to me and it's like, I need boundaries as a single person. When I'm dating, I need boundaries in my relationship. I don't know if I need to leave this relationship, where I've come from a past with narcissists. And so, like, I need to know, like, what boundaries looks like. Anytime I coach my clients through this, and that's why if you need help with that, click that coaching link, is it doesn't just change your life with relationships, which is everything, but this infiltrates. Like, I've had, like, clients that this impacts them at their workplace, and all of a sudden that job promotion that they've been wanting, all of a sudden they get it, or that company that they wanted to work for, they get an opportunity with them. This is the beauty of understanding boundary work, is it infiltrates every area of your life, with your family, with your work, with your friendships, with your intimate relationships, and with yourself. So this topic is super, super important because every part of our lives get touched by it. Let's see. Cayman says, I would love to tell anyone how to respect my boundaries. Most of the time I will give them a warning. Afterwards, I decide to cut the person off. And here's the thing, like, I agree. Like, when someone is just, like, not going to honor your boundaries, like, sometimes you just got to snip it away. But the challenge is to have a conversation with them before we just snip it away. Easier said than done. Sometimes it's just easier to, like, slip out the back door and be like, peace out. But sometimes it's helpful to say, hey, I really felt disrespected here, and I don't want to do, like, relationship with you because this doesn't feel good for me. Yo Williams says, this is an interesting comment. He says, it seems counterintuitive to have boundaries in relationships. Absolutely. You know why, Yo Williams? Because we all come from a different background. We're all raised differently. We all have different stories about how we view love, about how we view communication, how we view connection, even around the house. Like everything comes with like teaching each other, like, this is what I show up with, and this is what I expect. And this is what I need, and this is what I desire, and this is what I just don't want to deal with. And like, that person's not going to know until you communicate that with them. Thomas, I love Thomas's accountability. He was like, I didn't know about boundaries until 5 years ago. I'm sure I have unintentionally violated someone's boundaries. I think we all have. And that's what I love. Like when we talk about things like this, is like not just coming at it from a victim mentality of like, people are doing this to me, but also being conscious that we sometimes can ignorantly do the same to other people, or when we feel triggered, that we can also violate other people's boundaries. Um, that's so wise, Ninja Wolf. He was like, Erica, when two people are not ready for love yet, they have to create a better and strong history first as best friends. They have to earn each other's trust, and they have to be patient. I really love that. Matt C says, so true. And yes, I feel very defensive and don't trust people. So I do think that narcissists probably wrong. I either get quiet or I flip out if it keeps going. I'm still smiling from this session last week. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that. Jason says that was a Lamborghini, that sound. Oh, Wonder 21. I so appreciate this. He says, thanks for all you do, Bali gal. No one else is even close to you. That means the world to me. I love that you just called me a Bali gal. I miss Bali. I'm in the south of France now, but I definitely I was just thinking of Bali today. Matt C says, yes, I'm glad too, Thomas. This is vital information. Engaged trains plus slot car says, women have no boundaries once they are married. They are to do what they are told by their husband. Husband means master, period. Please tell me you're trolling right now and that you are joking. Plague says, exactly to what? Tristan says, I wonder what you think of this, Erica. Okay, let's have a go. I've been told to treat my thoughts like another person is speaking to me. If I say abusive things to myself, that's like allowing someone to verbally abuse me. It's true, it's tricky, but sometimes here's the other thing that can become the challenge is not to believe every thought. Whereas like if someone's verbally abusing you, like you're not going to take in that information, but it's something that is happening. And sometimes when our thoughts get a bit haywire, it's just our brain trying to protect us from something, and it doesn't always do it in the way that feels most loving. I remember having a coach tell me this, Tristan, and maybe this will serve you as well. But when you get those thoughts that feel abusive, you're like, you can speak back to the thought and say, you know what? That's really not a helpful thought for me right now. It's really not helpful. As simple as that sounds, it just silences it. It neutralizes those dark words. Sean says, we are often told not to do things. For instance, don't speak up, don't rock the boat. This is terrible advice. It causes us to violate our boundaries. I completely agree with that. And especially like, I'm going to start obviously talking about boundaries a lot because I have this new course that's going to be coming out very soon. And I think this kind of conversation really speaks to people who come from a people-pleasing background, the peacemaker, the nice guy, the nice girl. Like these are the people that weren't taught these skills, and they are paying a severe price by it, by not knowing that they have rights, that they have a voice, and that they can have boundaries. Penguin says, having boundaries defines our principles. Ooh, I love this. This is such good wisdom, Penguin. What we stand for. If they violate and defend in the area which it came from, right? If they violate and defend in the area in which it came from, right? Can you explain that question a little bit more? I don't fully understand that. Plague says, Erica is more entertaining than most other coaches. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I can get a little cray-cray sometimes, a little fun. Ian says, also another point important thing I found out for myself with boundaries is lack of self-love. Yes, you're so right. I'm talking about this in some other videos coming about how our boundaries are associated with our value of ourself. But also another crucial important factor is the fear of being rejected when we have abandonment issues. Absolutely, which is why we kiss so much ass and let people walk all over us, because we think we're going to get the exchange of love. They're going to exchange love. If I just neglect myself and make them happy, I'll eventually get love. And that in itself is an abandonment of oneself, because then you're saying, like, I am not sufficient enough to love myself. So I'm going to forfeit myself, and then I'm going to play into whatever they want. So I'm going to completely abandon myself and hope that I get love. And it's like, you just abandon yourself, the thing that you fear you're doing right now. Matsy says, my boundaries are off at times. Yeah, it's a huge game changer to start working at this. It's a real new way of living. CTC says, I love, very cheeky. He is like, Arica, you could violate my boundaries anytime. That's quite funny. Oh, okay, it's trains, whatever you are, like, come on, boy, get the hell out of here with all that. That's just crazy talk. I love this. Tristan's like, dang good advice. Whoa, Plague just said, Arica, you're the second most entertaining coach on YouTube. Okay, so I'll take the bait. Who's the first? Wonder21, why do boundaries get such a negative rap? Listen to the wonderful piece you did with Zan, so clearly demonstrated the values of boundaries, even with intimate relationships, the boundaries. It's so, so true. I don't know if boundaries get a bad rap. I just think we're not really sure what to do with them. And then Matt says, I had a bad experience with people at work. I was bullied and spoke up and got burned for it. Yeah. And chances are, Matt, you were in a really toxic work environment. So they did you a favor by showing you how they handle conflict. So you go, do I really want to be a part of this company culture? Okay. Thomas says, sometimes I let my boundaries slip. I worked on being more consistent with boundaries. Good. And so now I'm going to answer the question, and thank you, Penguin. He says, if the attack came from trauma, then counter in what way? So let me get to the now, what do you do? So here's the thing. When it comes from a place of, sorry, I just had to hide that guy from my channel. I'm like, I don't want this garbage in my channel. So when someone does something out of a trauma or reaction, and you've assessed that because you're like, ooh, like I see some of their old story, or they're not even being conscious right now. They're like gone, or this is out of their character. So this has got to be coming from someplace. We need to stop and think, if we were reacting out of our trauma on someone and we were violating their boundaries, what would we want them to do to us? So sometimes you just need to pause and be like, hey, like what you just said was really hurtful. I love mirroring. Like mirroring to me is one of my favorite techniques in empowering my clients. It's like holding up in the mirror. Hey, what you said to me right now was really hurtful, really hurt me. And then that brings the person into present reality. It's like, oh, wait, there's a person in front of me. I'm not my 5-year-old, 10-year-old self. So it's calling out the feeling. I feel very hurt by this. I feel very attacked. Did you? And then I remember a therapist telling me, like, her and her husband, like something had happened. There was like snow or something outside, and he was like yelling at her, like, did you? And she was like, and she asked him a question like, are you purposely trying to be hurtful right now? And obviously this is like ninja stuff, but to turn back and ask them, like, one, hey, this feels really hurtful. Like that's not really kind. The other thing is asking them, like, are you trying to hurt me right now? and just calling it out. Are you trying to hurt me right now? Is this really how you want to talk to me right now? Do you think this is the best way to handle me in this situation right now? I really don't feel like you're communicating this in the most loving way. I don't really feel loved by you right now. The way you're handling this, I really don't feel loved by you. It's holding a mirror and saying like, hey, this is how you're showing up. And this is the experience it's creating for me. That really comes from the heart. So let's go to the second one. Yes, the mirror effect. I love the mirror effect too, Penguin. So here's the other one. When they're malicious. When they are malicious, be like, it's time to shut it down. That's when your warrior comes out, your emotional warrior. I have that program, emotional warrior. That's when the emotional warrior raises its swords and goes, hey, you talking like this, that doesn't work here. So I'm done and I'm walking out the door. We're not doing this. Not doing this. And you just walk out. You don't have to entertain a person who's being malicious to you. You never, ever have to entertain that. And the challenge is, it's like, some people would say, some people maybe would argue with me and say, but, then you ask them, like, do you like create a boundary scenario and go, like, you can say, like, well, if you choose to talk to me differently, I'm happy to hear that. But if someone's being malicious and you open the door for them, chances are they're just going to continue to attack. So if you know they're just being malicious, it's time to shut the conversation down. Shut it down. Like, you have full permission to use your voice to say, I'm not going to put up with this. I am not going to tolerate this. And you shut the conversation down. And then if that person has a change of heart, they know where you are. So the third one is ignorance. Ignorance when someone's ignorant. Listen, it's like if you ever watch a goofy dog that's a puppy and it just like runs into everything, and it's like, it's cute, it's sweet, but it still comes with consequences. Like if you get a new puppy and it's so cute and it's so sweet, but it pees and poops and it runs into things and it breaks things, it still causes some consequences. So when someone is ignorant, say, hey, listen, I don't know if you know this, but when you did that, I really felt like this, or I really don't feel safe, or you know what, when you do that, you're really not fun to be around. When so like, this is something really important to me, and then you just walked all over that. And when you do that, man, I feel like I'm not valued by you at all when you show up that way. I really don't feel cared for. I don't feel like you really see the real me when you treat me that way. So a person who's ignorant will go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I did that. I'm so sorry. Ugh. So you have to know when to show grace and when to show your sword. And I really mean that, especially with malicious people. When you're like dealing with a narcissist or someone who's just, they're consistently showing you their malicious side, walk out the door. Don't give them room to explain, to suck you back in, to give you a fake ass apology. Don't even give them the opportunity. Walk out. Go love on yourself. Go get yourself stable. Go nurture yourself. But don't sit there and entertain them. And don't create an opportunity for them to explain and over-explain why they have hurt you and why they have violated you. Because narcissists and people who are hurtful will sit there and really justify in a very brilliant way why they hurt you. Don't stick around for it. Don't play into it. Shut it down and walk out the door. But when someone's reacting or someone's ignorant, this is a time where we want to show grace, have some wisdom, calm ourselves down, and hold the mirror back up to them and say, hey, what was your intention here? Or, hey, when you did this, this is how I felt. This is the experience it created for me. This wasn't fun for me. And sometimes they're just ignorant and they don't see it until you hold the mirror up to them. So guys, I hope this one was helpful for you. Like I said, I'm going to be covering this a lot more. I'm going to be rolling out a boundaries course. So I hope that will support you guys. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. I'm going to have a lot more videos like this to help support you guys to get a better understanding of how to stick up for yourself when it comes to boundaries in relationships. Guys, unfortunately, I will not be doing a live this Thursday. We'll resume on Monday. I will be going on a road trip. I have a girlfriend here. One of my Bali girlfriends are here. We just went to this beautiful town called Ez. If you want to see my journey, if you want to see where me and my girlfriend went today, you can get on my Instagram. It's, I guess I should write it right here, at the Arica Angelo. If you go to my Instagram, you can see our journey today. It was really beautiful. So she's visiting me for the week, and then we're taking a road trip through France into one of my favorite towns in France. So make sure that you follow thank you for the super chat, Sean. I really appreciate that. Make sure you follow my Instagram and go see that story. It's really cool. You are so welcome. I love what you just said, Penguin. He said, boy, that was so needed. Everyone, we are so lucky. Use what she teaches. Thank you for that. That really, I feel very honored by that and appreciated. So I appreciate that, Penguin. Thank you for saying that. Yes, Ninja Wolf on Monday. So guys, I love you. Be well. I'm glad that this supported you, and we will do this again on the following Monday. You guys take care and be loved. New video coming out tomorrow. So good. 4 ways to overcome trust issues in a relationship. Bye, guys.